You're so nice. I'm always ready. Okay, welcome everyone. I think we're right on time or a little after, so we had to wait for our city attorney to get ready. It's always waiting on him. No, teasing. Welcome everybody to our special meeting tonight. It's great to see you all here, and we're here for obviously an occasion that doesn't happen often, and it's kind of refreshing to see so many people that have stood up and said, hey, we're willing to serve and put ourselves out there for our community. So we have, 23 applicants tonight, and it's just great to have that many people that are willing to serve. So, before we get started, I do have one thing. We do want to recognize we have a couple of our youth city council in the back. Waved everybody. Nice. We have, is it Josie and Shy? But Shy is not very shy? No. Oh, good. Well, welcome. You're part of what I would say is kind of a historic event. We don't change mayors a lot, or we haven't in the last 30 plus years had that many new mayors. So you're part of a historic moment. So, anyways, as many of you know, the only thing on our agenda tonight is to interview applicants for the position of mayor and to appoint a new mayor. Now, I've had the honor of, for the last several years, of serving as the mayor pro tem during the absence of Mayor Pike, and since his resignation as mayor, that's more of a little more often. I will continue in that role until a new mayor is sworn in, and so here I am today opening this meeting. In preparation of the appointment of a new mayor, the city has followed the process for filing the midterm vacancies in municipal offices in accordance with Utah Code 20A-1-510. At this point, we're going to go ahead and get the meeting started as always. And Justina, do we have someone that's... We don't? So I get a call on someone? This is awesome. Greg, would you be willing to give us a prayer today? Thank you. Amen. Thank you for that. And Brian's always my go-to guy for the pledge since he's served our country, and I have a lot of respect for that. So would you help us with that?
Please rise. Repeat after me.
Okay. At this point, in the interest of transparency, I have decided that for the remainder of the meeting, Council, unless you have any objection, I'm going to ask, because I am an applicant tonight, I'm going to ask the city manager, if you guys are okay with that, to run the remainder of the meeting. Anybody have any strong feelings one way or the other? That sound okay? So at this point, I think I'll just turn that over to Adam, our city manager, and let him run the remainder of the meeting, at which point when we're done, he'll turn the time back to me and I can close the meeting up. Is that okay?
Sounds great. Good afternoon, Council, and special welcome to our guests, and especially those who are applicants today. This is exciting. Like was said earlier, this is not something we do very often in St. George, so here we go. It should be fun. I'm gonna read a couple of things that I think are pertinent to tonight's meeting. I think they'll be helpful. First of all, you'll see posted on the walls, if you haven't already, we've prepared a list of the applicants. That is the order that the applicants will present in. That order was determined by the master ballot list, which is prepared by the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Utah for 2020-2021. So if you could please do us a favor, keep an eye on where you fall on that list so that you can be prepared to come up to the podium and present when your name is called. Let's see, each applicant will be given 3 minutes to make a presentation, and then the council members, if they choose, can ask follow-up questions or questions for clarification. After each applicant has had an opportunity to present, then the council will proceed with the voting, and when we get to that point, we'll state how that's going to take place. Okay? Council, any questions before we begin with the presentations? All right, if not, then the first individual tonight is Michael Paul Eager. And we recognize that some of our applicants may be present on Zoom. If you are, please go ahead and type in the chat. Just type your name, make sure we know what your screen name is so that we can recognize you on Zoom at the appropriate time. And we've got several people who are monitoring our Zoom comments as well. Keep in mind this is not a public hearing, so if you are online, any comments that are made in the chat, those are not part of the official record, again, because this is not a public hearing. Okay? Mr. Eager, what we have up here is we have a timer. This will count down. We've got it right there so you can see it. And we just ask for the courtesy of everyone involved, because we do have a number of applicants today, please stick to your time. At about 3 minutes, we're going to ask you to wrap up. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just an old cowboy, grew up in Leeds, lived in Santa Clara, lived in Snow Canyon, developed the infrastructure there. I really love to serve, really love this community. I have a great passion for it. I miss Joe Bocat. He and I were on the city, one of the councils together, and we often had to invoke the 11th commandment when things got a little too serious. I have a will to serve and the ability to keep this community safe. I'd like to review every department and all of the team players that make up the water department, the utilities, the sewer, the streets. They're all team players. I'd like to know every one of them. And I'd like to let them know how important they are, and that with their mission statement to make this city even better and to keep it safe. I think some of our past leaders in the county and the city have let a few things slide about protecting our heritage and not letting the cancer culture take us over. I really believe our kids growing up today, I mean, what are they seeing? Unbelievable, the situation in our country right now. So I want to visit every school. I want to stress the Pledge of Allegiance, the Declaration of Independence, that they learn these things. The Bill of Rights, let them know that the corruption in our system today, the fraud, let them know that that's not how it's supposed to be. Let them learn the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Bill of Rights. Let them know that they are citizens, not subjects. This is so important for our future, for our kids to learn these things. We know, we've seen that our First Amendment, our Second Amendment, our Fifth Amendment is pretty much hanging by a thread. But ladies and gentlemen, we the people will weave it back together again. If they want us to come together to celebrate what is happening and to be subjects, not citizens, under my leadership, we will have a strong, never compromising city. We will root out socialism. I'm a problem solver, a good listener, a motivator. I will save this city a lot of money and promote the principles that have made America the greatest country in the world. Together, we should start a movement to honor the Constitution of the United States and let it spread from here and restore it. Ladies and gentlemen, and city council members, our city needs strong, unified leadership of a great city council. And our city needs my leadership as mayor for this term. Thank you very much.
Mr. Eager, thank you. Council, any questions for Mr. Eager?
I don't have any questions for him, but I just wanted him to know how much I enjoyed reading his application and all the contributions you've made to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Apparently you've read my resume.
I too want to say thank you for your service, and that I do miss Joe as well, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And for the benefit of those in attendance, those in the audience, the question that's been asked of our applicants tonight is pretty simple. It is this: please tell us why you have applied for the vacant mayoral seat and why you think you should be appointed. So that's what we're asking the applicants to state for the council. So next up on our list is Richard Kirkwood, and I'll read these exactly as they've been submitted. Richard L. Kirkwood, and he'll be followed by Robert Claridge.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Leonard, Youth Council, and citizens. Thank you. My name is Richard Kirkwood, and my wife Leanne has joined me here today. And I thank you for this opportunity to serve, hopefully, as mayor for this community. My goals are aligned, to give you exactly why I'm here. My goals are aligned with yours, to work with the citizens to make St. George a better place, a world-class city. We as citizens are here because of our families, our quality of life, and the beauty all around us. Together, we have much to do, and I believe public safety is number one priority. Manageable growth means sustainability of our resources. We must be careful to build our quality and grow accordingly. My entire adult life has been dedicated to public service. My 29 years in uniformed services to our country as an Air Force officer to serve our country was a great privilege and an honor. My 32 years in local government service as a city manager include 3 states and 4 cities. My local government service began in Roy City when I was a young man, much younger than Leonard, and I know he was in Clearfield, a city right next to Roy City. So I know Clearfield well. In fact, Gil Starks was the first city manager I recall in Clearfield, and Leonard will remember that. So I spent 20 years as a resident in Roy, and 14 of those years was my service as a city recorder, a director of finance, and mostly as city manager for the city. It was a great community. We grew nicely. I became city manager of Pismo Beach, California, which is where I grew up as a young man, a young kid. Off of Washington, the technology corridor of the Seattle area, great community. and then finally in Woodland, California, right out of Sacramento, to round out my 32 years of public service and local government at the city manager level. Graduated from Weber State College. It was a great privilege, BS in management. My master's degree is in public administration from Brigham Young University. I found that local government has been challenging and has been so rewarding to serve. Our general plans, our budgets, our personnel, our intergovernmental relationships, our infrastructure operations and maintenance require experience, dedication, and commitment. I promise to commit to the citizens of St. George to do my best with you to make St. George an even better place and be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money. Our goal is to serve the citizens with integrity. My wife and I have been married for 50 years this last September, and we love St. George. Our extended family lives here, and it is our home. We love her 98-year-old mother who lives with us, and she is a joy. That's the primary reason we're here, is for family and to take care of Mom. I ask for your support.
Time.
I will wear my own shoes and draw upon my own local government experience, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens as mayor. Thank you.
Robert Clarich.
Hi, I'm Bob Clarich, and first of all, thank you for allowing me the 3 minutes that I'm going to speak. To know me, you have to know my past, so I have to delve into some history. We moved here about 15 years ago after I'd worked for 36 years either with the U.S. Army or the U.S. Forest Service, and we scouted out what would be the best place to live. And St. George came up number one. Didn't convince my wife completely because she said, I'm going to give it a year and then we'll see. And fortunately, she was convinced after a year. Anyway, I thought I was retired, but the work I did for the Forest Service was a unique kind of position. I was a right-of-way negotiator for water systems in the West. So when they couldn't find a replacement, they asked me to work part-time, which I've done for the last 14 plus years. And it's a rather interesting work because you work with irrigators, you work with states, you work with irrigation companies and districts, and so you meet a lot of people and you go a lot of places and see a lot of interesting things. So it's been real rewarding that way. But regardless of work, I think it's real important to do things for your community. So in my years after I got out of college, most everything I've done, I've been able to do volunteer work. For instance, I was in Boundary County, Idaho. It's a small rural county. I got to be the Parks and Rec director. Now there's no pay for it, but it's still rewarding work, and there's a lot of things that happened up there you can do as a volunteer, which I'm quite happy that I did. Since I've been here in St. George, a few things that I've been involved with is, one, raising money to get Little Valley courts built, which included running a tournament where we raised over $20,000. In, I think it was 2014, campaigning in the Sun River to get the people to vote for the RAP tax. And recently, a couple years ago, getting the HOA at Sun River to replace all the courts and build state-of-the-art pickleball courts, which I guess after you hear that, then you kind of think I'm a pickleball-only kind of guy. In reality, there's a lot of things I love about this community. And that is the reason, well, part of the reason I want to volunteer is I'm going to have more time on my hands And even though I'm old, I'm still energetic. I work well with others. I dream big, but I'm very practical. And I would love to work with you. Thank you. No questions? Great.
I don't have any questions, but I'll again state two things. If Bob's way understating his contribution to the pickleball community. If you guys don't know Bob, he's a big contributor, but I'm sure you guys were all struck as I was as I started reading all these applications. These first three gentlemen all served our country, as did many others. So I just thought that was so impressive.
Next, we have Ron Woodbury, and he'll be followed by George F. Whitehead and then Laura Bean. Okay. If we could unmute Ron.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me now? I guess I'm the
Yes.
first Zoom candidate. Appreciate your time today. It's a great honor to have the opportunity to apply for the position. My last job interview was in September of 1984, so this is a bit of a treat for me. I love St. George. My ancestors were part of the original group of pioneers to establish our city. Except for my father, every generation since then, down to my kids, have lived here in St. George. I've applied for the position of mayor for a variety of reasons, and I'll share 6 of them with you. One, I've applied for mayor to help preserve a safe, family-friendly way of life we have here in St. George. As a father of 2 children, a peaceful and loving community is especially important to me. I also applied because I believe nonprofits are the backbone to any successful community, and I'll fight tirelessly to ensure they have the resources and freedom to grow at the rate to keep up with the city's growth. I applied because I love St. George's arts and culture. I'm a member of the St. George Arts Commission, and I want to see our art community continue to grow. Every study on arts and childhood development shows that when children are exposed to arts, they are more successful in life. I applied because the national discourse can only be healed at home. I believe in loving and helping our fellow neighbors one person at a time, not by creating subgroups and pitting them against each other, as we've seen with the identity political war that is tearing our country apart. Number 5, I've applied because I'm worried that we are on the cusp of becoming the next Austin, Texas. I'm a proponent of growth, but right now I think St. George needs more homegrown growth. It would only take about one company with 200 to 300 specialized employees to move into St. George in our current housing climate, and it'll push us over to the edge, resulting in increased homelessness and the gentrification of our older neighborhoods. I actually fear my own children will not be able to afford to live in the town they've grown up in. We've actually done some math lately, and it's not looking good. I'm a capitalist, and I understand if you don't grow, you die, but we need to manage our growth, not with restrictions, but with good planning. Finally, I applied because there is a war on our heritage, our police, and our freedom. We need leadership that will listen and engage in constructive dialogue, and I can do that. We can be an inclusive town without selling out to the cancel crowd. There's a lot more love in this town than any other town in the country. We have the opportunity to leverage St. George's kindness to be an example for other communities around the globe. In closing, I'm a strategist. I love working with many organizations to help them build their strategic plans. And if appointed to be our city's next mayor, I would lead the way to update the general plan. And I'm also a facilitator, and I believe a fundamental role of the mayor is to facilitate the community's dialogue. And my experience illustrates that capacity. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and may God bless St. George. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, council? Okay. Mr. Whitehead.
Good afternoon, council. I'm George Whitehead, and I was born and raised in St. George, Utah, where I've enjoyed a wonderful life. St. George has made a significant impact on my life, and I hope that by me becoming the mayor, I can help continue to have the same impact for those living here. I was educated here and enjoyed youth programs as a little leaguer, a golfer, and a high school athlete. I learned to work hard, delivering newspapers and milk door to door, something you don't see nowadays. I washed dishes and cooked at the famous Dick's Cafe. I roamed the Red Hill, hiked its trails, squeezed myself through its narrows. I felt the red sands of Dixie in my shoes. Following graduation from Dixie College, I ventured to Ogden, Utah to Weber State, where I graduated, but while there, I met a tall, beautiful, talented, intelligent young woman who made my heart race. I knew she was the one for me. However, she wasn't as sure about me until I invited her to come and visit in St. George. When she saw that I had painted her name on the Red Hill Sugarloaf in capital letters, DIXIE, it was all over for her. We are now the proud parents of 5 children and 20 grandchildren. It is good common sense to count well the costs before one enters upon the great undertaking such as mayor. What is the best for the people I lead? Can they trust me? What is best for the community, my customer, my client, my family, and spouse? Can I get the job done? A good friend and colleague, former Mayor Carl Brooks, taught me his motivating 10 two-letter word challenge that he lived by and has motivated me also. If it is to be, it is up to me. These 10 two-letter words, combined with intent listening and future vision of good, have allowed me, as a 40-year administrator and vice president at Dixie State University, to see new growth in higher education, new buildings erected, and scholarships funded that support students from Dixie College and the surrounding area. I am not a private business owner, developer, or politician. I am an administrator, a planner, administrator, planner, and leader. Now is the right time for me to step forward in the interim and use the leadership skills that are best for this city. I have always had a strong desire to serve our city, just as my great-grandfather, George F. Whitehead, did while serving as mayor decades ago. I understand that privilege is not granted by birthright, but earned. The famous German philosopher Goethe wrote, "What from our father's heritage is lent, earn it anew to really possess it." The fire to build up our heritages has been ignited in me throughout my life and career. I want to serve and be appointed as your mayor of St. George, your interim mayor. If it is to be, I can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, questions? Okay, next up is Laura Bean, and she will be followed by Joshua Dutson.
Hello, thanks for seeing me here today. I appreciate your time. So why do I want to be mayor, and why do I think that I should be appointed? Well, to be truthful, this is not a position that I really desire. I went to a few meetings last week where we discussed our nation and how bad things are becoming in our government in general. And I've gone to quite a number of gatherings in our area in the last probably 8 or 9 months that is significant. And we've discussed with these groups many times how our area, our local area, would need to be more firmly focused and grounded in principles outlined in the U.S. Constitution and our state's Constitution, and to really adhere to actual law. As I was in these meetings, I just got this is just recently, fire in my chest to step up to the plate. I don't know exactly what God has in store for me, but I do my best to listen to Him and obey the calls, no matter how uncomfortable it might be or how crazy I might look. I pray that the right person gets into this position because our community, and there's been some great guys here, our community needs someone who is securely tethered to God's providence and foundational principles. It's kind of like being called in an LDS ward to a presidency position that you feel unqualified to do. If the Lord needs me here, He will qualify me, and I will serve Him and the people the best of my abilities. I pray St. George more fully embraces our heritage and our values. I believe we have strayed just a bit, and it's time to get back on the right track. Personally, I am quite transparent. I really haven't hid my opinions and beliefs, and I think we need more of that in government. There probably is plenty, but I think we mainly need citizen involvement. You probably agree with that. I would like to call it as it is in general, but I usually do it in a way that's not threatening, and I look at issues from other perspectives. It really is all about people. It's all about understanding and validating one another. Relationships are special to me, and as mayor, I would honor the relationship with each of my constituents. My only goal would be to serve them and uphold the Constitution in preserving our rights. St. George needs a leader like that, and we have such a unique group of individuals in our area that understand the importance of liberty and what it means to be human and to be a community. We need someone in a leadership role who is willing to do what is right no matter what and not capitulate to special interest groups. And we need someone who is willing to admit when they are wrong. In current times, I look to the governor of South Dakota. She is such a good example of someone who understands her role. She gets it. The proper role of a civil servant is to obey the will of the people, not the loud minority with strings, to listen to those who elected her while maintaining the people's ability to make their own choices in pursuit of happiness and property. Many friends of mine have given up on the U.S. Constitution, understandably so, but I believe there is still a chance to bring back what our founding fathers set forth. The key may just be in our local cities and towns. That is where the rubber hits the road and where we can have, more of a voice. I have organized and met with many St. George residents all year long, and I felt that I have a good connection with the people already. I have touted the city of St. George for 2 decades now and feel so blessed to live here. My husband has amazing roots here, being a Lundin and an Atkin, and I have also an amazing heritage as being a descendant of Sarah Levitt. This is our heritage, and I don't want to see it ruined by evil ideologies. I would be so happy to help my fellow residents. I have a deep love, for this area and the people who live here, and I know that I would do a phenomenal job. I'm a very good listener and good at looking at all sides of an issue with a level head and broad perspective.
Time.
I've always been a peacemaker and know that I can be a tool of unity as well without giving up my integrity. Thank you so much for considering my application and doing what you can to preserve our heritage and good values of St. George. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Joshua Dudson, followed by Catherine Novick. Is Joshua here? Can we check and see if Joshua's online? Let's make sure to check the waiting room online if we could, make sure nobody's out.
I don't see Josh online. I don't see any names that would be similar to it either.
Joshua, let us know quickly if you're here. Okay, let's go ahead and move to Catherine Novick. Catherine will be followed by Darren Orton.
Good evening, Council. So, my name is Catherine Novick, and I've applied for mayor today because I would like to have a chance to inspire the community. Everyone in this room has the same thing in common, and I believe all of us want to contribute or have a meaningful contribution to St. George and helping it become a better place. And even though I don't have years of experience on any council and I'm only 24 years old, I do have life experience that speaks for itself. Over these years, I have been through much hardship, and I'm here to show today that anybody who goes through hardship, no matter where they come from, that as long as they try and are willing to never give up, and as long as they stay on the right path and stay focused, that anything is possible and we can all reach our goals. And that's something we all also have in common today. In 2019, me and my daughter were residents of Switch Point, and after leaving there, we have maintained our stability and have made great progress. And in my application, I mentioned that I started a business, and I did that because in 2020, when COVID decided to impact the nation, I felt for a long time I had no way to help people. And even myself, as someone who had just come out of a shelter, I felt like, what could I do to offer to people? So I went and volunteered, and I made videos because that's something I know how to do on my free time. And so far, I make those videos for Switch Point and even a few local businesses. And I did that because I wanted to make sure that no matter, since we're all moving everything online, or since we want to have contact in person and online, I'd be able to provide those sources for people who couldn't afford it. And being here, you get to hear what I have to say. I feel that I'm a representative for people who might not know what to do in this time, who might feel helpless and feel like they want to do something more, but all they can do is just sit in their homes. And I represent the minority, I represent people in the lower and middle class, and I'd like to come here and make a difference. And it's not just about making a better place, because to tell you, I've been through the nation, and St. George is a heck of a place to be. It's a beautiful place. But we want people in this city to know that everyone on this council is going to be representative for them. So we don't have members that don't just are over the age of 30. We have representatives who are going to be here to inspire younger members like children and people my age, people who didn't go to college, but people who equally have the qualifications to make St. George a better home. And I need you guys to open that door for me because I can't do it by myself. And I've made it this far since I have left that shelter. And I believe I can help motivate the public to become more involved, whether it's hands-on, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person. Young people, older people, everyone can come together to make sure that whether we hit another moment of devastation or we only go up from here, that we will always be here to take care of them and they can always trust us to make the right decisions for them. Thank you. Any questions?
No, I just want you to know that when I read your story, it was very inspiring.
Yeah.
You're an inspiration to people that your past doesn't have to define your future.
Thank you.
I agree. I read your application and I was just blown away. I think it's so brave that you showed up here at age 24. I never would have dared to do that, and I'm so impressed with your courage. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Exact same comment here. You're very
Congratulations
courageous.
on getting to where you're at. You very well.
Thank you.
And thank you for the plug for SwitchPoint.
Yes.
SwitchPoint really, truly is changing the face of poverty, and thank you for that. You're a prime example of what SwitchPoint can do. Thank you for sticking with it, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Orton, followed by Gregory Aldred.
Thank you. I echo the comments that you made about Catherine, an inspiring story. Also, I'm impressed by the number of applicants and the quality of applicants for this position. So I feel lucky to be here. I asked for a lot of advice when preparing my comments today, and the only advice I got was shave your beard and wear a nice suit. And you can see that I didn't really listen to the advice, but I thought that showing up in boots and blue jeans and a beard was more genuine in the representation of who I am and what I believe St. George is and should be. I'd like to just share a few little comments about myself. I am a business owner, and I've had the privilege of opening some businesses in and around the state of Utah. One of them was in Vernal, and I opened a restaurant in Vernal several years ago, and the process from beginning to end was amazing. The city officials were eager to help. It was streamlined and simple process. When I showed up on opening day, the council actually showed up with a ribbon and with matching green jackets. They wanted to genuinely thank us for opening a restaurant in their city limits. And I've also had the experience of opening restaurants in much larger northern Utah cities, and those experiences were not always the same. Sometimes it was time-consuming, problematic. It seemed like frustrating to both myself and those who were helping me. And I think that is one thing I'd like to see happen, is to make sure that as our city grows, that our government doesn't, that it remains simple, it remains streamlined, and it remains inviting for people. I also have been critical as of late of some people in public service, and I find myself not wanting to complain, but wanting to volunteer. And so that's another reason I'm here today. I've been critical of politicians that seem to be more interested in a windfall of a salary or of a stepping stone for career ambitions. And I think that Mayor MacArthur is a great example of someone who just earned his living and then also turned to serve. And I think that I'd follow that example if I was given the opportunity to serve. Not because I need the job or have career ambitions, but because I think my talents and energy could be used to make the city a better place. Lastly, I was interested to receive this book from a friend of mine. And in this book, the author tries to make a comparison of why cities lose their charm. And he gives an example of a city that did not have any community involvement. And then he used a model American city, which was actually St. George, Utah, set in the 1950s. And he listed off a long list of community-involved things in their newspaper. And it was raising money and FFA banquets for fathers and sons and donating books for schools. And what an inspiring story of how the community rallied around to build this. I believe that's our heritage. I believe that's what makes cities beautiful, and that's what makes St. George great. It would be my privilege to take that mantle and attempt to do the same thing as the mayor, to involve prominent members of the community as we all strive to make St. George a better place. Thank you for your consideration.
Darren, who's the author of your book?
Charles Murray. He's actually quoting a political scientist way back. This was a New York Times bestseller in 2010. So the story I told was actually from a previous book. But.
Okay.
If any of you have been to Vernal, you would know why the council showed up and we're so grateful for the... No, I can say that because no matter where I go in the world, there's somebody that has some contact with Vernal. And I just so happen to have married a girl from Vernal, Utah.
Great place.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
Gregory Aldred, followed by Craig Segmiller.
Okay. Shout out to my wife, who's probably on Zoom or watching, but hello, Danielle, Michelle, Jimmy, Brian, Greg. Always liked your name, Greg. Okay, so dear council, I would bring the honesty, integrity, respect that this position does deserve. I've served it as a leader in many organizations, and I do know how to conduct meetings and fulfill agendas. I'm not here to change anything, but I would keep us unified as we move forward, especially in these trying times. I have a good rapport with our department heads. A little shout out to the chiefs and all that work here and what they do. And a great relationship with all our neighboring mayors. I think that's important. My focus is on finishing this term, and I would not be running for mayor if appointed to this position. Being retired, I have the time to give 100% and to fill the duties that's required. And I have no hidden agendas. My ability to listen, keep my composure without judging others, I feel that would really be an asset. I've been a resident for 40 plus years, and I hope you recognize my love for the community by my actions and not by me just saying so. So I thanks for your consideration. I've listed some of my leadership positions. I have served as past Dixie Sunshiner, still involved with our chamber. Been the president of our Red Rock Rotary. We support many scholarships here. Past president of the HV Chamber of Commerce, working with small businesses. And, they're the backbone of our community. Served as the educational chair and safety for SUBA, past County Fair Board, past Dixie Republican Forum president, and I'm a precinct chair for St. George and Precinct 1, which is kind of cool. And I'm a state and county delegate, and our Rotary does volunteer at Switch Point and Habitat for Humanities. With that said, I could just, have a heart for our councilman having to choose against two of your own, so I might be your solution to that. Just thought I'd throw that out there. And then Michelle and Jimmy can battle it out in the political arena, which that's going to be one heck of a race, because I know you both really have the heart for the community. And so I've left myself 20 seconds if you have any questions for me.
Greg, I can say that your love and the service you give this community is unquestioned. So thanks for all you do and give back to this community.
Thank you very much.
I agree. And I thought I heard that you were moving. Were you moving to Virginia or something?
My wife got a thing that her friend challenged her, and it was for dyslexia, and posted this thing to see how many people would respond. So I had so many calls come, no, we are not moving. And I said,
Well,
honey, the game is fun for you to play, but after 2 days now, I think we should probably wrap that up here.
Well, I was surprised to see your application because I thought maybe you were living in Virginia, so tell her she got me.
Oh, heavens no. Who would want to be there? I'll be buried and they'll throw the red sand on top of me. So anyway, thank you for your time and consideration.
You have a funeral plan?
Jimmy, you did my brother, and yes, but I'm right between cremation. I got a lot of golfing buddies who want to sprinkle my ashes everywhere. But anyway, I've taken enough of your time. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Craig Segmiller, followed by Brock Soper.
Council, it's good to be with you. A week ago, I was in a school board meeting asking candidates the exact question you're asking of us today. Ironically, right after I speak, I have to go ask other candidates at another school board meeting this same question. So it's a fun question to think about, and it's a hard question to kind of answer, but you want to know a little bit about qualification and motivation. Let me start in my case with motivation, and I share that motivation with a lot of great folks that are sitting behind me, and I appreciate that. My family came to St. George in the 1860s, and we were smart enough or dumb enough to stay here. We've been here ever since. My great-great-grandfather brought his family. He and many of your families created one of the most amazing communities I think, in the country. One that we love and that we're proud of. I'm going to come back to that because that's part of my motivation. Qualification-wise, I did go away to school, went to BYU, and then I went and got a master's degree. And my master's degree is in international business. And people say, Craig, what in the world are you doing in St. George? You have a master's degree in international business. And I had opportunities and job interviews around the country. Well, it seems like there's a couple of ways to live your life. One is, this is my profession. I'll go anywhere I need to do that job. I have a son-in-law and a daughter. They're dentists, very successful dentists in New Mexico. Another way to do it is, I know where I want to live, and I'll do pretty much whatever I have to do to live there. And that's kind of the way I've lived my life. So I got my master's degree in international business and came back to St. George, Utah. I've been a teacher, and I've been a business owner, and a lot of you know, if you've read, I'm now teaching math at the university. I also am on the local school board, have been that for a number of years, and just recently got reelected. Did not know this was going to happen. So I had to think dearly about that decision. I do have a lot of experience on councils and boards, school board. I was on the original Applied Technology Board. I've been on other boards. So I've got a lot of experience there. I think I can hit the ground running as far as how this works. Obviously, there's a lot to learn about exactly the things you deal with. But on the other hand, as a school district, we deal with you a lot. Can I just say, by the way, that from the school district perspective, dealing with the city of St. George has always been a privilege. That's not the case with every city. Every city doesn't behave the same way. And that's how it should be. That's, for those of us that grew up here, that's called the Dixie Spirit. I think I'm qualified. I think I have the experience. But now let me return to my motivation. I'm concerned, as some of the others have said, about what's going on, not only just in our country, but I'm a little concerned about what's going on in our community. I don't just love St. George, I love Dixie. And you need to know that if I had been on the Board of Trustees at Dixie State, there would have been at least one no vote. It would not have been unanimous. And I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, if not me, please choose somebody that doesn't just love St. George, but somebody that loves Dixie. My great-grandpa would be proud of the place that we've created. All of us, from the beginning till now. Thank you. Questions? If I have to leave, I'm sorry. They do expect me at another meeting in a little bit, okay? Thank you.
Next up is Brock Soper, and as Brock makes his way up here, let me quickly check. Is Mark Smith in attendance, either in person or on Zoom? Mark Smith. We had a note that Mark withdrew. I just want to make sure that that's still the case. Okay, it doesn't look like Mark's here, so following Mr. Soper, the next individual will be Sydney Stoker, and I believe Sydney is present via Zoom. Brock.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for this opportunity to be here and speak to you about why I feel I should be appointed to the position of mayor. I wanted to especially thank all of these applicants here. It's amazing to me to see how many people are willing to step up and serve this community, and I know that whoever you pick, the city will be in good hands. I feel that I will be the best candidate for the job, and I have 3 points that I want to make to try and show that. First, vision for the city. Second, education and experience. And third, a longtime St. George resident. My vision for St. George is to make it feel like home for anyone who visits, who moves here, or who has lived here for a while. As growing up in St. George has shaped my life and presented me with countless joys and gotten me through many challenges, I want St. George to provide that to anyone who comes here. When I worked with Salt Lake City Council, we focused on trying to maintain a hometown feel, even though Salt Lake City was a large metropolitan area. St. George is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and I know that we can maintain growth while still feeling that same hometown feel that I've felt as I've grown up here. One of the challenges that an appointed mayor has is that they must be able to hit the ground running. City Council has already decided many things and has many other things in progress. As someone with a master's degree in public administration and someone who has worked closely with City Council and city administration, doing everything from City Council meetings to overseeing large public hearings to meeting with citizens one-on-one to discuss their concerns, I can step into the mayor's seat and not skip a beat. St. George has been my home for many years. I attended Sunset Elementary and graduated from Dixie State University. I met my wife at college and started my family here. St. George is my life. I feel it is important for a mayor to be a longtime resident of their city. How else could anyone know what's best for the city if they haven't lived there through its times of growth and struggle? When it comes to me, well, I bleed Dixie red. In conclusion, I feel that with my vision for the city, education and experience, and longtime residency, I will be the best choice for St. George City Mayor. Thank you very much for your time. Questions?
Okay, we'll go to Sydney Stoker online, and Sydney will be followed by Pete Rognley. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correct. Is that okay? Okay. Sydney.
Hello, City Council, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I was born and raised here in St. George. My parents and grandparents ran Dixie Components for over 15 years, and my family has enjoyed participating in the growth of St. George. And I've enjoyed personally watching the growth. If our community is going to continue to grow, we must be able to sustain this growth. And with growth comes a little bit of change. It's inevitable. If our community, I have applied for the mayor's seat in hopes to maintain the foundation St. George was built upon. Our culture is very important to me, and I believe we must be proud of our history and preserve it. It's no secret that Dixie State University is a huge part of our community. As a result, there are many individuals, young individuals in the area. With Dixie State's plan to continue to expand, it will just bring more young people to our community. I believe young leaders need to be represented and encouraged to stand up for what they believe in. Having talked to many individuals, I refuse to believe what many of them currently believe, which is that their voice doesn't matter. I believe I can inspire a change of mindset in young people, and age should not look back. I should be appointed to serve as mayor of this beautiful city because I have a strong work ethic. This is proven by I'm only 22, and by the end of March, I will have my master's degree in business administration. I believe a good mayor must be personable, which is a trait that I have. I am able to work with everyone and anyone, and I know the importance of listening to others. It's important to hear all sides of the story before making a decision. If appointed, I promise to do my best to represent all individuals of St. George. I am confident that if we work together, we will be able to ensure happiness for both newcomers and community members of many years. I have always been passionate about serving my community and being able to help out wherever I'm able. And if appointed, it would be an honor to serve the wonderful city of St. George.
Council, any questions for Sydney?
Well, I'm just blown away by these young people showing up. Sydney, kudos to you. Thanks for showing up and representing people from your age group. I agree with you. Your voice is important, and I'm personally just super proud of you for doing something, at least for me at your age, it would have been scary. You don't look scared. You're very courageous, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rognally, and he'll be followed by Michelle Randall.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for the time. Thanks for doing this, guys. So no secret, I believe our greatest asset is our public lands, and I think that's why people are moving here. And I think we all want the same things, and we all want growth. We all want growth that makes our community stronger, and we all want a prosperous, resilient community. And thank you guys for taking the time and the effort and community service to doing the best for our community. I think something that all of us don't want is traffic and more traffic, and we're all trying to find ways to mitigate that traffic problem. I do think that our greatest asset right now is our public lands and our access to outdoor space and our access to the environment. I'm sure we all have great memories growing up. If we grew up here, if we grew up elsewhere, getting out into the desert and the forest and experiencing our beautiful lands. And I think that is the number one reason that people are moving here, and that's the number one thing that our city has going for it. I think preserving access to those lands is probably the paramount thing that we can do for our city and the future of our community. I oppose the road. I oppose the northern corridor that would go through the Red Cliffs Preserve. I know that none of us want to be bogged down in traffic like in California, and I know a lot of Californians moving here don't want that either, but that means that we need to think of better, more creative solutions to the traffic problem besides building another road. Thanks. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Pete. You guys may have seen Pete around town. He and his wife don't own a car. They have committed to bicycle riding, and they're great examples of like using alternative transportation in a really positive way.
So we're going to hear from Michelle Randall, and Michelle will be followed by Dustin Cox.
Our house cleaner. Council, why did I apply for mayor and why should you appoint me? I've served on the city council for 7 years. In those 7 years, I've learned so much from each of you, the council members past and present that I've served with, Mayor Pike and our department heads and city manager. I've worked extremely hard for our residents and our city employees. I've been a champion for the employees to have the compensation they deserve. They are the ones working each day to keep our city safe, clean, and functioning. I've returned almost every email and phone call I've received over the last 7 years. I've met with residents in their homes, at City Hall, and in my home to find a resolution to a problem they were having. I've been a conduit between the residents and City Hall. I'm currently on the board of the Utah League of Cities and Towns. Why is this important? Because it gives St. George a seat at the table to have our issues heard in northern Utah. I have the experience to serve as mayor. I'm a leader. I'm organized. I'm a problem solver. I'm proactive, and I have time management skills. I'm a listener. I will seek out the council's opinions on the many important issues that come before us. I will also rely on our city manager, city attorney, and department heads for their advice and expertise. I have the time to put in full-time hours if necessary towards being mayor of St. George. I've lived in St. George since 1978. I've attended schools here. I've raised my family here, and now my children are raising their families here. I've been a small business owner here. I've witnessed St. George grow from a small town of 13,000 people to the 7th largest city in Utah, with continued exponential growth on the horizon. If given the opportunity to be mayor, I will be available to all residents and will continue to respond to everyone personally as much as possible. Recently, St. George News ran a story about a couple who lost everything in the devastating Paradise, California wildfire. As they were looking to relocate, the wife said, "When we dropped into Utah, my husband said he could hear angels singing. He said it felt like home. As we continue to grow, I want us to always maintain the community spirit, or as some of us refer to as the Dixie spirit we have, that is inviting, charitable, and kind, where everyone feels at home." And that will be a goal I always strive for. I'd be humbled and honored to receive your vote for mayor.
Council, any questions? Dustin Cox, and Dustin will be followed by Daniel MacArthur. Dustin, are you here? Anybody online? Last call. Daniel MacArthur. Mr. MacArthur will be followed by Robert Mitchell.
Council, it's been hard for me to get used to wearing masks, but I do what I'm asked to do. The first question was, why did you apply for this position for 1 year? And the question is as I come back from Mexico after serving for 3 years there for the LDS Church, I was asked many times, why don't you run for mayor? We miss you. Why don't you put your name in? And it doesn't matter where I go or how long I've been commended over and over and over, whether it's in my business or others. And I thought about it a lot, and that's why I was one of the latter ones to do it. I still have the fire in the belly. I love this community. I grew up in this community. My great-grandfather was one of those original settlers in 1861, came in down here in December. St. George was organized and received, it was actually the 13th city in the Utah Territory to receive its charter on January the 17th, 1862. And that's why I started Heritage Week. My wife and I started that by actually inviting people. I went around to all the grocery stores and sang happy birthday to St. George and invited them to come to get ice cream, a free root beer float. And that grew into other things. We paid for it and everything, but since then the city took it over, the council come in, it was great. I've been involved in so many things in this community. I don't think I have to say about it, but one of the things that I've really emphasized is the history of St. George and our heritage. I don't think we should forget about our past. We have to link our past to ourselves. Did we make mistakes? Yes, we made mistakes, but we can correct those mistakes. I put a lot of effort into the downtown, creating the downtown square. Now, when I mentioned that I did it, no. It was done by a wonderful council that I worked with, several councils, and a lot of wonderful people, whether it was staff, city manager, that I worked with Gary all the time that I was mayor, and sometime when I was in the city council. There's only two types of people that live in St. George, and it's those that live here and those that are going to. And that's why we've been the fastest growing community in the nation. And I know that that'll be in the past. Some of the things that we've got to do is continue. Well, I was involved in connecting Skyline Drive, which only used to go up Main Street and go over to the Dixie, over in the Dixie Industrial Park, but connecting it over to U18, and then put on our plan, because the HCP was created, and I was part of that HCP because we had a lot of private landowners that needed to develop their land, and we had to create that HCP. And now that's a blessing because that's an area that's going to be open for all of us. And we have Pioneer Park, and we have all the other things. But the Belt Loop, whether it's the Southern Parkway, the airport, all of those. 20 years of my life was spent on the airport, and a lot of that in Washington, D.C., trying to make sure that we had the airport that we need to serve our community. Selecting me is to serve this year as mayor allows the city council to move on forward and not have to go through this to replace a city council person. I just hope and pray that that decision has not been made prior to listening to all these people that came, these wonderful people that put forth their effort and also put forth my name to serve for this year. I'd love to do it. I have the fire in the belly. I love St. George.
Council, questions or comments?
I'll make a quick comment on this one. Mr. MacArthur, I don't get a chance publicly to say this, but I just want to thank you for everything you've done for the city of St. George. There are very few individuals that have made as big a mark on this community and have given so much and have driven it in a direction that is so good than you have. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the city of St. George.
Oh, you have a good son. I agree with him.
Robert Mitchell, followed by Jimmy Hughes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this unique opportunity. It's a humbling experience to share the stage with such a distinguished group. I wanted to share a little bit of my background because that would hopefully help you understand how I might be qualified for this position. I'm joined by my beautiful wife. You can't see her under the mask, but of 36 years, and she's always followed me where I've gone in this wild world. We're both products of the state. We graduated from the University of Utah. Following the graduation, we left the state. And for 3 decades plus, we lived in a half dozen different states and multiple countries. And so you ask our children where they're from, and they have no idea. I think we're pleased to report that they're contributors to the community. They've learned a tremendous amount from their experience in traveling the world. I built a career that was based on public companies and private companies and early stage companies. And through this experience, I learned a tremendous amount, not only engaging with people in the business world, but also people in the public world. And it's been a unique experience for me. Perhaps the thing that I take most pride in is that I've been part of technologies that have literally changed the way medicine is practiced. I've been part of technologies that save lives. And that is probably the most important thing that I've done. In parallel to my career, I've also taken on some projects here in the state of Utah, one of which is the Lake Powell project on the Utah side. Most people would look at that and think you're crazy for doing that. It's laden with a history of failure and false starts. I'm thrilled to say after about 10 years commitment to that project, we're penciling very nicely. And it's looking, we're bringing economic growth to that very needed community. We moved to St. George here after I retired 2 years ago. I sit on a few different boards, and we moved to St. George, and for the first time we felt like we were home. And we love St. George. We love everything about it, and we have no desire to move again. We've moved enough. So my interesting career path has led me down a natural course of tethering myself with thought leaders and opinion leaders and people in the government. I've been fortunate to look at government from multiple aspects and to see how it works. So very briefly, why am I qualified for this position? I think my track record speaks for it. I'm not afraid to surround myself with smart people to make educated decisions on behalf of what is best for the city. So I'm the least political person on the stage here, I know that. But I think my track record speaks more than words do. So thank you very much for consideration.
Thank you. Jimmy Hughes, and following Mr. Hughes will be Austin Hafen.
Thank you. Council, believe it or not, I have a written speech tonight. Can't read it. The crazy part about that is it's typed. So bear with me for a minute. We've all been on the council together for a long time. I don't know that in the next 3 minutes I can give a flowery or powerful speech that's going to change your perception of me or what you know about me and my history. So that's not my intent. If I haven't earned your honor and respect, I don't think I'll do it in 3 minutes. However, I would remind you of a couple of things as I present myself to each of you as willing and ready to serve and to step into this role. And I am ready. I want to reiterate that. I even have the support of my wife, who's here with me tonight. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. She has high expectations of you all tonight. There's some great people that have come before me that have put themselves out there and want to serve. Some would say you have a pretty difficult decision, or we have a pretty difficult decision before us. I would just say that, I consider myself the most qualified due to my current service, and I'm ready to hit the ground running as I've been serving for this past 9 years. I would say I'm probably the safest, easiest choice. Might I say you're not going to have to explain your vote by having me move forward for the next 10 months. Remember, there's an election in just a little under 10 months, less than 300 days. Most of you know that I have been preparing and or planning on running in November. Many of you have actually expressed your support for that. All I'm saying is let's just move that support up 10 months. Let's get back to work for the citizens of St. George and for our wonderful employees. Now, I want to use the last few remaining moments to pay tribute to you all and what you mean to me. Danielle, thank you for wanting to represent all people, for your love of all people, for your love of all things walkable and bikeable. It's been a benefit to St. George. Thank you for saying just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean we have to keep doing it that way. I've gained from that. Greg, you took over my spot as the youngest person on the council. Darn it. No one could have done it better. You've quickly become the go-to guy for all things economic. Your analytical skills and your knowledge are second to none. I've appreciated that on the council. Brian, you already know you're on a pedestal with me because you served our country. Thank you for that. Thank you for being honorable and stepping into the role of Joe. You weren't ready, but you rose to the occasion. Thank you for sharing those 7 core principles: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. We could all use some of that. Michelle, we've been at this a long time. We've built a political alliance that has accomplished much good. I think we also built something at least I considered was a friendship. Your personal battle with cancer has been inspiring. Your willingness to share that with other people has probably saved lives. Thank you for that. You have been a great example of perseverance and never quit. And to all of you, again, thank you. And I would be deeply honored and humbled to receive your vote of confidence tonight. Thank you.
Council, comments or questions? Okay, Austin Haven. Austin, are you here? Anybody online? Give him a second to confirm. Is James on our chat asking? Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anyone with that name or something close to it.
Austin Hafen, if you are attending via Zoom, if you can raise your hand using the little icon there at the bottom of your screen. Okay. Fred Graham is next, and Fred will be followed by Catherine Tolman.
So I'm Fred Graham, and as others have done some name dropping tonight, I'll do some name dropping. I'm not from this area. I'm what you call an outsider. My wife and I moved here 2.5 years ago from Salt Lake. We're retired. But my great-great-grandfather was Orson Pratt, who, along with Erastus Snow, set up the cotton mission here in St. George in 1862. I'm very happy with that fellow. Okay, you have my resume, so I'm not going to refer to it. You've read it through. I just want to give you my motivation. We are now living in a transitional period in St. George history, a transitional period from a transitional period of coronavirus and those problems. We're also transitioning from a period of governmental and social unrest. We have the happy blessing of an influx of new residents into St. George, creating a more diverse population. We have the challenge of developing a stronger and more diverse economy. St. George needs a mayor who understands such situations and can actively listen to various exponents of such groups and problems. I am such an active listener, and with my international experience, cosmopolitan background, and having taught U.S. government would be good at offering insights to help the City Council deal with such problems and challenges. Realizing that I would be an interim mayor and that I am not a career politician, I have no plans to establish new policies nor adopt new technologies. And I'd just like to say one thing as a footnote. This is a great local lifestyle we have here. But we got to realize also that the diverse population that's moving in here can enhance this, and we need to give them as much attention as possible. They can also help us with diverse economies to diversify the economy and make our economy here in St. George stronger. So that's all that I have, and does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Mr. Graham. Erastus Snow is my great-grandfather way back, so it sounds like you and I were friends way back down the line.
Well, I don't know what happened between Erastus and Orson, but they weren't exactly the best friends.
They weren't friends, so we weren't friends way back. You know more history than I do.
Maybe you know more about what happened with Orson.
I'll see if I can figure it out.
He supposedly moved up to Rockville and built a house because he didn't like it here, but I don't know if that's true. Thank you very much.
Hey, Adam, on that Austin Hafen, I thought I remembered. He's still in the National Guard, and I think they were deployed to Washington, so I think that's where he's at.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Catherine Tolman.
I hope you guys are all still awake. Made it to the last one. St. George is where I have chosen to live because I love the area. This is where I want my family to feel at home, create happy memories, and be adventurous. St. George City is an example in the southwest area of Utah, and I would like to see it continue in its leadership. This can be done by communicating with surrounding cities so that we can complement and not compete with each other's growth and development. Over the past year, there have been times that I have not felt safe, and that concerns me that if I have felt that way, others have also felt the same way. Although I cannot, nor can any individual, promise safety in the days ahead, I will be committed to working with others to maintain stability and consistency in our city while the world continues to change around us. The mayor is the leader of the city, but does not lead alone. The current directors and officers that are employed by the city of St. George are all qualified professionals that should be listened to and their opinions considered. I will take the time to listen to them and understand what concerns they have and what ideas they have for growth and improvement. I appreciate that the city manager, since he has been here, has taken the time to provide leadership training within the city. To me, this is an example of improvement. He has also brought up the morale of city employees with the Brighter Side Awards. This last month, a Brighter Award was given to a community member. This would be a positive and uplifting addition to continue for the community. Whether I am appointed or if someone else is appointed is not of particular importance to me. What is important is that who is chosen will work closely with the City Council and the City Manager to manage the downfalls that we have felt in 2020, to continue improvements for the community, encourage more community involvement, like the Brighter Side campaign during the last summer, and to try to maintain safety for all of us. I feel it is important that the citizens be the focus for the mayor, to show them respect, to be fair, and to let them know of their importance. It is up to the citizens to be involved to make a difference, as this is what affects the spirit of the community. The City Council is accountable to the citizens as they hold the city voting power. I am very pleased to see that there are many citizens like myself who are concerned enough to come today and express their desire to serve St. George, even though this current appointment will only be for a short time. To keep the city moving on its current path, choosing one that is already acting or involved would be the easiest solution. But is it the best? There is a wide range of experience that is here today and would be beneficial to the city. What makes me different? Well, I can honestly say that I have no professional conflicts of interest or any connections to civic associations. I have applied for a city position as mayor, and if chosen, will put the city's best interest as top priority. From my previous work experience, I have learned to listen to all sides of the situation. For one example, while I worked at Primary Children's, I was able to negotiate between the University of Utah medical staff and Intermountain Healthcare as we provided interdisciplinary clinics for patients. This was not easy as both parties had their own objectives. However, both parties compromised to help the patients because they were the main focus. It is important to maintain focus. My leadership style is accountability. I hold myself to the same standard as I hold employees, and I would not ask an employee to do something I am not willing to do myself. Thank you.
Any questions, council? Thank you. One last call for Joshua Dutson, Mark Smith, Dustin Cox, or Austin Hafen. Anything online? Okay. All right, council, you've now had the chance to hear from all of our applicants, as well as, I'm sure, many hours reviewing the substantial amount of supporting documentation that was submitted. Now, according to state statute, you are required to deliberate this decision in public. So all deliberations need to take place right here, openly. Anything that you may want to say, if anything at all. When you're ready, we will have our first round of votes. And the way that that will work is the city recorder has provided each of you with a yellow ballot. It should be up there on the dais in front of you. You'll have your name on that ballot. You'll write down one name. You'll pass those to the city recorder. She will read your name and then state the individual that you have voted for. The individuals, the top two individuals who gather the most votes in round one will move to a second round. If there's a tie in round one, then we'll quickly explain how that will be handled as well. Okay? So the time's now yours, council, to deliberate, and when you're ready, we'll proceed with the first vote.
I'll start by making a comment, and this is for everybody here today. I've found today that as I'm sitting here listening to all the individuals who have applied for mayor, I found it to be kind of an emotional experience, which is not something that I feel, I don't know, it's just not like me to be that way. However, what I'm seeing is the people who applied today, I'm just seeing the qualifications, the experience, the great ideas, and more than anything, everyone that's applying and everybody that's here, the love for community and the willingness to give back and serve to preserve this place that we all love so much in the spirit that's here in St. George. So I just want to thank all of you for applying and sharing your time and talents and your willingness to serve in this position. So this is an 11-month appointment. I think I can speak for us up here that we don't enjoy making this choice. This is very difficult. Where you all were, I actually, I applied 2 times to become a city council member. When John Pike moved up to become mayor, his seat became available, and I gave my 3-minute presentation. When Joe Bowcut's seat came available, I gave my 3-minute presentation again. And I over time, after running, I got the opportunity to serve on the city council. So what I would like to encourage everyone here to do is, again, we have 23 applicants, 20 of which applied today that showed up. There can only be one chosen. Please run this summer and let the people decide. This is only for 11 months, so that's what we're choosing. So please run and get involved, because it is a good thing to be involved. And again, I appreciate everyone's willingness. As far as discussion, so what I'm looking for in someone to serve for this 11-month term is someone who can move the city forward without a beat. I mean, I don't think we want to slow things down. I think there's so much going on in our community that I think we just want to make sure that this choice that we choose has relationships, knows the city, knows our current issues, and can move forward. That's my thought process on it. There's a lot of people that are definitely qualified for this position, but that's just part of my discussion.
I too want to thank everybody and those who have served, especially the military. Thank you very much for serving this great country. This is really hard. We have a lot of experience, a lot of inexperience that could be really good. And as I was, I had a lot of military experience, but no political experience, and I've learned a lot. So I know that we can we can learn and gain from everybody out there. As Greg said, there's only one position, and we do have that 11 months that are 8 to 11 months that we're looking at, and then the people can decide, as it should be. I want to know there's a lot of great candidates out there and a lot of people that I think could do this, but again, we're at that one position, and I'll make my best decision for the 11 months, and we'll let the people decide after that.
I don't want to take advantage of the situation where I'm an applicant, so I'll just say ditto to what you both said, and thank you to all of you for applying and what you've all done in our community already and what you will do in the future. Thank you.
I just think there's no question that all of the applicants love this city, and it's awesome that we all love the place we live and that we're blessed to call it home.
I agree. I kept my notebook with me while I was going through all of your applications, and my list of notes ended up really long because, wow, what an impressive group of people. I just really enjoyed reading all of your applications and seeing your life experience and knowing like what an amazing community we live in, and echo what my fellow council people have said. It is honestly very emotional for us to see all of you come forward, and I think it is for the entire community. You know, if we lived in a community where nobody came forward, think of what that would say. But each of you, and there's probably people beyond you that were considering coming forward because there's just so much love for this community, and I just want to express my love for each of you. We might have differences of opinion sitting out here in this audience, but like Michelle just said, the one thing that we all have in common is that we love this space and we want it to be the best place that it can be. I made some notes about what I want to see in our next mayor. I want somebody who has the ability to listen. I echo what Greg said, a mayor for all citizens, someone who has the time to devote to the office. It really is a full-time commitment. The intelligence, the leadership skills, honesty and integrity, good communication skills, understanding of the administrative functions of the city, a team player, and we've had this goal for the city of activity and optimism, and I'd like to see that continue. Economic activity, social activity, physical activity, emotional activity. The thing that's interesting about being the mayor is, it sounds like an important position. It just isn't about self-fulfillment. It's about love for community and selfless service, and I want to see that continue, and we've seen it in our previous mayors. They've set a good example, and I want that to continue. So like my fellow council people said, we'll do our very best, and I agree with Greg. If your heart's in this, then run and let the people decide.
Sounds like we're ready to vote. All right, council, you've got your ballots. Go ahead and write down one name, and then Christina will collect those.
Councilmember MacArthur votes for Jimmy Hughes. Councilmember Randall votes for Michelle Randall. Councilmember Smethurst votes for Michelle Randall. Councilmember Hughes votes for Jimmy Hughes. Councilmember Larkin votes for Michelle Randall.
Okay, according to the relevant statute that governs our process today, even though there are only 2 applicants who receive votes, we actually are required to take the top 2 vote getters to a final vote. And so, council, go ahead now on your, what color? Your blue ballot, please. From the 2 names that were advanced after that first round of voting, select from those 2 names, and Christina will collect those votes. The applicant who has The highest number of votes this time around will be the next mayor for the city of St. George.
Councilmember MacArthur votes for Michelle Randall. Councilmember Smethurst votes for Michelle Randall. Councilmember Hughes votes for Jimmy Hughes. Councilmember Larkin votes for Michelle Randall. And Councilmember Randall votes for Michelle Randall.
Council, with that vote, we now need a motion to appoint Michelle Randall as the next mayor of the city of St. George. That motion should include that Ms. Randall will be sworn in at 5 p.m. on January 21st at our regular city council meeting. Any questions or comments before that motion is made?
I would be honored to make a motion to have our first ever female mayor in the city of St. George, Michelle Randall, sworn in as our new mayor on January 21st at 5 p.m.
Second.
And appointed, sorry.
Appointed. Thank you.
So we had a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay. Greg?
Aye.
Brian? Jimmy?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Ms. Randall will be sworn in on Thursday, and we appreciate everyone's attendance today. I'll go ahead and turn the time back to you, Mayor Pro Tem Hughes. Any other business today?
Nope,
Council?
we just need a motion to adjourn as far as I know.
Mayor Pro Tem Hughes, will you allow me the opportunity to say one thing?
Sure.
I just want to state, we have two young women from our youth city council here. We chose the best applicant today, and gender had nothing to do with that. But gender has been a barrier in our community for many years. And so a happy byproduct of choosing who I felt was the best candidate today is that we overcame a wonderful barrier. And I am super happy that these two girls were here to participate in that moment. And I hope all the young women in our community feel like they have an opportunity to just be whoever they want to be, run for any office, any position that they're ever considering, that they know that just being the most qualified applicant is all you need to do, and that gender's not a barrier. So I just wanted to make that. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Greg, a second by Danielle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're adjourned on Thursday.